Radio guys, so what we've got right now is an argument view pager. So the idea here is that we want an activity to send information to fragments. So I've got fragments inside of a view pager right here. I've gone over view pager in some of the previous videos, but basically, long story short, I've got an activity that lives up here. We can take a look at the XML for this guy. Inside of my activity, which is defined in a constraint layout, I have a text view. I have a guideline who sits at about 25%, and I have a view pager that fills up the remaining 75%. Inside of the view pager, who is called container, this view pager is called container, and I have a view pager adapter that's going to be stuffing fragments inside of this view pager, and the fragments that it's going to be stuffing today are things called argument fragments. This argument fragment is again a custom class that I've defined over here, and the argument fragment is going to be this whole little purple entity. Why is this not showing? There we go. There's that delightful little color. And he's got a button that says press me. Actually, you can see in the description of the fragment, it says press me. But what you're going to notice right here is that I say like hello and hi and hey there, yo. So question is, how did this information get into this fragment? How did we initialize each of these fragments with a different piece of information, knowing that this my view pager over here is the guy who's responsible for stuffing them in? And oh, there they are. There are the labels. The labels for these individual buttons are coming from the activity. So I'm having information that's passed to the fragment at creation time in new instance over here. And so we're getting these messages that go to the button. Okay, so how do we do this? So I went over this. We've got a text view, hello world. This should look familiar up here. This is my little hello world text view. I've got my guideline. I've got my view pager. Sure. My view pager is defined over here in Java as well. He's found by the container. I have my view pager adapter, which is a custom class that I've built over here. And I set the adapter to the view pager in the method setViewPager. I'm allowed to do this because this view pager adapter extends fragment pager adapter. Default constructor over here, I have the get count. Notice that this is equal to labels.length. So I'm only making as many fragments as I have labels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this case. This will ensure that I'm not going to be making fragments where I can't pass data to them. So the question now is, how do we actually do this? Okay, great. So we have this fragment, I get item. Get item is called when we navigate to each individual position over inside of here. It's actually called for the fragments adjacent to this as well. So when we're on 0, it's going to call the get item for 1. When we're on 1, it's going to call the get item for 2, and it's going to create a new instance of these fragments. My new instance method, in the previous video, these have just been empty. There's been nothing, but the new instance, I'm actually going to pass it an argument, and in this case, it's going to be labels of position. So the position corresponds to the position we are inside of this view pager. So I'm passing it either the string hello or hi or hey there. Okay, seems straightforward enough. So we have a method, we have a mechanism where we can create this fragment, we can create a new instance of the fragment, and we can pass it data. What does this look like on the fragment side? So on the fragment side, things should start looking familiar over here. Bring this guy back up. I have my default empty constructor. Your intuition may be telling you to put arguments inside of the constructor. This guy has to be empty. You have to make this an empty constructor. This is kind of where we're getting into the world of why not just make override the constructor with strings. You can't do this because the the fragment life cycle is going to call the empty constructor. He's going to call this guy, so just let it do its thing, and you can sort of imagine this to be the first domino. Okay, new instance is the first domino. We know all the other lifecycle methods are going to be called. They're going to be coordinated by, the states based on which button, which direction we're swiping in, whether we press the square button or the circle button or something like that. We're going to trigger this guy. We want to make sure that all our data is set up for the first domino over here in new instance, and I've defined this guy to have a string argument over here. The way the data is going to be encapsulated is through a new bundle. Now, bundles allow you to put in things if you've done shared preferences. They're fairly straightforward. It's the same sort of mechanism. I put in a key, I put in a value. I use a key value pair over here to args put string. So I create this bundle, new bundle. I put a string inside of here, argument, and then I set the arguments to the fragment over here, and then I return the fragment. So this fragment, notice, this fragment was actually returned to the ViewPager. So the ViewPager was actually, he wound up getting it because notice that he was actually returned as well. This has been going on all along. But in this case now, the fragment has a bundle of arguments associated with it. Sure, great. OnCreateView is called as part of the fragment lifecycle. Notice that this is probably called, not probably, this new instance is called first domino over here. Then the default constructor is called. Then OnCreateView is going to be called at some point. This is going to inflate our layout, and our layout has this lovely purple color today, and it's got a button over here that says press me, but that press me is not going to be around for long. It's got to change to hey there or whatever. OnCreateView, all we do, there's not a lot of room for creativity in OnCreateView. You can inflate the layout over here, and then once the views have actually been created and we're at the point where we can begin interacting with them, notice like it's actually in the visible space and stuff like that, that's where we would do onViewCreated. So onViewCreated is the place to do things like actually setting text and assigning callbacks and this kind of stuff. So here is where I tease out the bundle. This bundle that I created as part of new instance, and new instance, that first domino over here. Now, when onViewCreated, now once we've like swiped in and the fragment lifecycle has occurred in the proper way, I can get the arguments out, I can get the string, and then I have a default value over here with this. You get it based off of the string key. I think it is a very, very good idea to not define, not just type in your keys over here. Make it a private final static string with some all caps so we know that this is the tag. You can access by tag. It's just written in one place. So we put the string under this tag, and we got the string out underneath this tag. Then I got my button over here, and this is my hello press me button. I got him as pressing me, and then I set the text equal to the argument value. So in short, what we've got is an ArgumentViewPager. This ArgumentViewPager allows the activity to pass data to the fragment at the time of creation so that you can begin interacting with this fragment with information that's been initialized by the activity. And so all of these different pieces of information for the different fragments are controlled in the activity space over here. Thanks a lot.